Yeah.
You are a son of a bitch.
Un saluto a tutti.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the show, AJC Army. And yes, still waiting for Lex. All right, she will be here. All right, but we got to just get things cracking. It definitely is Lex that takes the longest to get ready out of our team. All right, Lucci, it's not Lucci. But hang on a sec. Here we go. Let's see if we can get her in here. Lex.
Hey, what's up?
There we go. Everybody waiting patiently. All right. So Lex
Thanks,
had to get
guys.
ready. Lex, it's no longer a what if or who takes the longest between you and Lucci. I think it's you.
Oh, man.
Anyways, Lex has some plans tonight, so she had to get ready. All right. So now we're all here. We're ready to rock. The chat's lit up, pumped up for this game. It's 4:30 a.m. my time that's going to go down. And yes, we're doing a watch along. All right. And the crew in Toronto, okay, the official fan club, is going to be having a watch party at 7:30 a.m. All right, at the Ferrari Club. So they don't care what time it is. They're always rocking, and we love to see that. And the chat's pumped to see Lex in here every time you could join the show. All right, and we have a lot to talk about. All right, so we're going to get right to it. This week, saw a couple of good days for Juventini. My mentions were filled with tears, and that always makes me happy because I love it. All right, so Inter getting bounced, all right, in Champions League, always nice to see. Doesn't really do anything for us except just bring me great pleasure to see them bounced, all right? So we got that. But the bigger one was Napoli getting eliminated because this secured qualification for the Club World Cup for Juventus. And this is big for us, obviously. A nice influx of 50 million euros just for taking part of it. That money will not come to available to us until later on. So we have to wait for those funds to come in. But it's definitely big and massive for Juventus in what we're trying to do and continue to push forth in building this new business model that is sustainable to get those funds and to get that exposure. So Lex, we're in North America. This is going to be a great opportunity to check out Juve in some meaningful matches right here in our backyard. And yeah, there probably should be a big AJC meetup with the North American crew and talking to some overseas that might travel in to come check out North America. And yeah, maybe we'll get a big meetup going. But that was big positive, and I'm pumped on that one. And yeah, I was nervous about it for a bit. It was getting pretty tight there.
It was, and I wonder if ADL is going to sue about us being qualified instead. You got any lawsuits coming in for that
ADL.
one?
He's just been on a rampage for a while, been on tilt, and you could feel that coming. I mean, I laughed when I heard about the appeal because what kind of message does that send your team right before they play a very winnable match, might I say? Like, that was anybody's game going in there 1-1 and no De Jong, no Pedri. Like, I mean, that was a winnable game for Napoli, but you set the tone in a very negative manner, all right? And then De Laurentiis with Sky Sports and DAZN, and he pulled Politano away from a mid-interview, like very embarrassing. This guy's been on tilt, all right? But I've always thought he was embarrassing. I think he's one of the biggest chihuahuas in here, but good luck with your appeal, De Laurentiis. And here's a big fat day for you and Napoli, all right? So that was a good piece of news coming our way. As far as the other news, well, we got today like all these links with Bayern players and apparently a meeting with Juntoliamana and Bayern and 4 names in the mix, and it's Goretzka, Mazraoui, kind of in the foreground, and then in the background you have like Sane. And I'm trying to think of who the other one was. There was 4 players. I know it was Sane, Mazraoui, Goretzka, and I'm trying to think of the other, but it's not coming to me right now. But when it comes to these links, I think only 2 are legit if we're looking at this, and it'd probably be the ones that we were linked to before for quite some time. Xerxes, thank you. That was the other one. But with Xerxes, I'm not buying too much into it because Mirko Di Natale told us all a few weeks ago on the show here, he's close to Milan. So it seems like Milan is going to be in there for Xerxes. When it comes to Sane, I'm just not buying it because his big thing is the money. So if we're trying to bring our players down, I can't see us going this way. And people are talking about the same thing with Goretzka. It comes down to the money and he's on high wages, but he's in a different spot because he's kind of like in this flux now where he knows he's not getting big ticket money and getting like another big contract unless he probably goes to Saudi, which I don't think he wants to do. So I actually think Goretzka and Mazraoui are the two legit ones, and I'm not buying a whole lot on Sane or even Xerxes. What do you think? Are you kind of along the same wavelength on me, Lex?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Xerxes caused so much hype right now in the league, and rightfully so. He deserves it all. I just think I've seen the links to Milan as well too much. And as you pointed out, as Mirko Di Natale said, I just don't think that one's going to happen. I can't see it happening. We also do have Dusan still, so it's just, yeah, not going to happen most likely. And
Yeah.
yeah, I know it'd be interesting for sure, those links. I don't know.
Sane, no goals in 5 months. All right, but everybody pumped up on Sane and fired up. And, Forza Juve coming in here, Sane over Chiesa, take him over Chiesa every day of the week. So a big part of the rumors today were pretty much Juve looking at replacements for Fede Chiesa. I vented my frustrations with Fede for quite some time now, but over the past couple of games, since Ravanelli's words, his critical call out on his attitude, I've seen a Chiesa that I've been happy with, like just in terms of work rate and effort and stop sulking, stop playing the Barella card essentially and hitting the turf at every touch. But I've been happy with that from him. So now all of a sudden, that's all he needs to bring for me. With Chiesa, I'm fine with a 1-year extension. And if he wants more money, I don't think he's necessarily warranted it. But I think I'd be willing to do some bonuses that are incentive driven. And that would be okay. But I'm still leaning towards 1 year. Let's keep Chiesa around. Let's try and build on top of that. Chiesa, Vlahovic, and everybody. We've got the Club World Cup money. We can't stumble anymore. We need Champions League money. But Lex, with everybody talking about Sane over Chiesa, the Chiesa replacements, Raspadori, what are your thoughts on Fede? Oh, she froze up. We got to get her back in, everybody. Got to get her back in. Well, let's get the chat's thoughts here on Sane, on Chiesa. So Adam's saying, hope Chiesa stays. I'm the same. I want to see Chiesa stay. All right. I'm not at the point where I would take him away right now. It just seems strange. I would try to build up on that. We're going to get into something that is a bigger concern for me than when it comes down to Fede. And, okay, so coaching, depends on coaching. Everybody kind of weighing in with the coaching as well. I don't know. I think when it comes to Fede, he knows what the case is and what's going to happen there in terms of his alternatives. Okay, and we do have Lex back here. So now we got Lex back. Okay, Lex, I was asking your opinion before he froze there on Chiesa. We're looking at replacements. Everybody's talking about alternatives. Sane, Raspadori. I said I'm happy with 1 year renewal. Maybe some bonuses, incentive driven. What's your call with Chiesa?
I just think with Chiesa, it cannot be denied the impact that he has on the field for the team. Whether it's his overall work rate or just his contribution to creating chances. I think that we just can't deny his presence on the field, especially in our attack. And I'm still part of the group that believes, I know you have your opinion on this, Berto, about playing out of position and all of that. And I just think overall, with Allegri as our coach in general, it's just hampering him and his play. I still do believe that. So I would like to see a Chiesa renewal. I think he's still an important asset to our squad. absolutely. And these other names that have been circulating don't do it for me in terms of like feeling like we need to push Fed out for that type of player. So I think I'm still pro Chiesa. I want that renewal. As you said, Berto's work rate has been excellent the last few games. Like you cannot deny that he's not giving 110% for the team. So that's where I'm at with him right now.
His his decision making, it needs to pick up though, because I can see, like, while I don't necessarily fully agree with his comment that he's a bit selfish. I think it's just the decisions around him, and I think he's just trying to do too much. And I actually spoke about this before our last game, that I don't think he's that guy. I don't think he's that guy that everything can come around or be this main focal point. I see him like when he had his best, he wasn't the focal point. He was just this kind of luxury piece that you had there that could take guys on 1v1. And he was the benefactor of us having Ronaldo around. He was a huge benefactor from that because he was able, like, all the attention went to Ronaldo. It's clear that was Chiesa's strongest year, and why. We also still had Dybala around. You had a lot more guys that would take that attention. With our midfield being as weak as it is in terms of offense and what they can do, what they can create, it's not a surprise to me that Chiesa struggles and he's trying to do way too much. But the positional thing, yeah, Lex, where I stand. Like I'm not buying into that. I can't buy into it. Just as a player, as like how many tournament teams I've played on, and we just throw each other out there. No coach. There's no coach involved. There's no nothing. It's like, hey, what should we play? What's the best for the guys we have? What do we do? It's more roles. We just try to figure out who we want to do what. We don't worry about where they go. We just need to get certain guys on the pitch and say, this is what we want you to do. This is what we want you to do. And that's it. It's more roles than anything. But when it comes to Chiesa, how do you feel about my comment about maybe he's not that guy that could be that main focal point and he needs somebody else? Because for me, the problem with us is still the midfield.
I think it's an interesting comment for sure. And as you mentioned, like there has been instances where he's been at his best and he hasn't exactly been that guy. I mean, even if you look at his Euro campaign, some of his cameos came off the bench, right? So it's interesting to note that as well. And that's seen as like so far the pinnacle of his career, right? That's what everyone remembers him for right now. So I think it's definitely a good point to point out. I think he plays best, like you said, when he has that presence, like whether it's Ronaldo or if we can get Dusan to continue to be that presence for us on the pitch. I think I do like still how Dusan and Fede work together, especially when they're playing off of each other. So I think with Chiesa, it's interesting. I feel like the way we play, and I know I speak about this often, but I feel like we still don't exploit him as much as we should. Whether that's not putting him in positions where he's at his best. Like you said, whether or not he's playing in that position, just the way we set up our attack, do we get him, an isolated 1v1s? Do we get him in the left half space? I feel like we don't do that often enough. And if you note where like his dangerous moments and his goals have come from this season, it's often been from those areas on the pitch. So I still think that sometimes we're not giving him the environment where he can be that player. But then on the other hand, there is definitely reasonable doubt about whether or not he can be that main factor to our project, or whether or not, as you mentioned, Berto, he's just a luxury player to have.
Yeah, and I think luxury, like, it's just a way of me saying it, but I just don't think he can be that guy that everything's on. I mean, I think there's so many moments and instances where we've covered a game and then afterwards we're talking about him skying something when the play is screaming to just have one in the mixer. And he comes in, skies a shot when we've got bodies pressing in the area and everybody's just looking for that cross in. And then he throws his hands up and he's, arguing with his teammates and whatever. And then there's other instances where he is in the area. He's got moments and he doesn't even hit target inside the area when we need him to at least force a save or something. So there's some struggles there from Fede for sure. But in terms of these replacements, like I think what it's going to come down to is I think Fede is going to realize that unless he has a strong Euro showing,
Yeah.
the and going back to this Club World Cup thing, how it's going to affect Juventus, this could very well be a thing in terms of helping guys stay. Because I don't think Fede is going to get the attention from the teams he would want to go to unless he has a big Euro. Do you agree with me on that?
I completely agree. I was going to mention it earlier as well. Actually, I saw a comment about it too, where someone pointed out that a lot of the future pathway of his career is going to bank on how well he performs this summer. And I mean, I couldn't agree more with both of you. Like, completely. I think whether he wants to make a move to another club showing interest or whether he wants to get that renewal and take on a bigger role at Juve, I think that it's going to bank on that, like you said, Berto.
Yeah, and I just have a feeling that he doesn't want to leave Italy.
Hmm.
And I think he's gonna want to stay. He's obviously gonna push for more money, but yeah, the Fede one's gonna be an interesting one to follow the whole way. Speaking of more money, McKennie. McKennie came up in rumors and discussions saying that with his contract extension, Juve was caught by surprise by the fact that he wants more money. Number one, we will apply the Momblano tax to this, okay? But let's just talk about this because this is a very difficult one, I thought, in terms of Juve's standpoint. And a lot of fans are of the theory, just give it to him. Based on what he's done this season, he's deserved it. I can see both sides of the argument. But I want to get your initial gut reaction when you hear about McKennie and asking for a pay hike on the extension and what you think. And for reference, we can give everybody the salary so that everybody knows kind of what we're looking at in terms of him versus the other players on the club. I'm just going to pull it up real quick, but let's see here. So I think he's making, and this is take home, this is not gross, somewhere around 3.5. So 3.2. So he's at 3.2 million. Okay. That is the same money as Kostic. It is less money than Jallo, who just signed, by 500K. It's less than Moise Kean by 650K. It's less than Milik by like 1.2 million. It's less than Locatelli by like 3 million. It's less than Rabiot by like 5 million. So that kind of gives you an idea of where he stands. 3.2. What's your gut reaction on him asking for more?
I think my gut reaction, especially seeing the comparisons to his other midfield partners, if you want to, play it comparing to positions, I think that it's valid to ask for it, honestly, especially looking at, as you mentioned, Locatelli's making 3 million more and Rabiot's making 5 million more. Those are players that you could say arguably he's now playing just as often as, and you can also argue putting in better performances. Like, exactly, less than Milik. Yes, I would say like he's definitely earned that that pride in being able to say and ask for more money. I think that that's definitely fair. He's performed so well this season. I think he's been up there. Him and Cambiaso have been for me our best players this season. Just in terms of everything he's doing, his creativity, his assists, some of those passes and through balls he's been putting in have been incredible, honestly, highlight reel. And so I think why not? Like I would love to keep McKennie right now, especially at this point. And as I mentioned, when you compare it to his midfield partners, I can see why he's like asking for a pay raise in this contract renewal.
Yeah, I have a lot of mixed feelings on this one. Like, number one, we were shopping him very, very heavy during the summer, but it doesn't take away from what he's done this season. I still feel like if we boost our midfield the way we should, he goes to a bench role. And while we're factoring in his counterparts in the midfield, I don't think I want to give a bench guy ultimately that pay hike. I still feel McKennie's best would be at right wing back. And I still think we should look for alternatives there. I think if we're looking at a pay hike for McKennie, I would work it on some type of incentives. in a bonus structure and maybe not so much the salary because we're trying to bring these other guys down. So it's hard to look at those salaries when you're trying to cut it and then just say, "Oh yeah, like I believe he's deserved it. I believe it's fair. It's absolutely valid and fair. I agree with you, Lex, for him to ask for it." But in my mind, I can't wrap my head around given a guy that if we get things right this summer is probably going to go to a off the bench role, a pay hike. It feels like kind of doing old business all over again. But in the grand scheme of things, it really depends how much because of where he's at right now. 3.2, it is pretty low. And when you're looking at some of the money we're giving these other guys, I'm actually probably, I'd say, okay if we boost him a little bit. I'd like to see it somewhere in terms of incentives because we still don't know if this McKennie that we've got this season is going to be around for good, you know?
That's
So
that's valid. I mean, like
it
contract year.
yeah, it'll be interesting to see, but I'm not against giving him a slight increase, but I do think that ultimately, what I don't want to happen is there's something also to be said about selling high, and his value has come up. He has teams in the Premier League interested. There's a couple of big clubs over this past week that are interested apparently in his services. Well, I say big, but Man U, I mean, is one. Arsenal apparently another. If they came knocking, I wouldn't want to give him a boost in pay if it's going to hurt his potential future sale on too. That's another thing I'm kind of thinking about as well. So it's a very, very difficult decision because we do have to sell as well this summer as we still work to get back on the positives. Another midfielder is Rabiot. The Rabiot saga continues with what to do there. 2-year extension, keep him. I'm still at this stage where I think I'd let him walk. Lex, what would you do with Rabiot?
Yeah, I think I would too. I think, even playing without him in moments when we have this season, I think it's proven that he's not maybe that necessity that a lot of people were making him out to be for our team. Especially he's on a high contract, and I just, like you said, you've done well for us, Rabiot. Great season last season with all those goals, but I think it's time for you to go.
Yeah. Yeah, dumb beast and let him walk. Absolutely. I'm Connie. He has to go blood. I had this discussion with Alex P and like he just ragging on me because I said Rabiot for me is not of the technical quality I think we need to bring in the midfield. I think, there's something to be said about Rabiot. He has his place in midfields. He has a spot, but it's what you're asking him to do. It's the roles. While we talk about, well, he played for France on a stacked team and whatnot, yes, but Deschamps doesn't ask him to run the offense or contribute so much offensively. It's a completely different role that he plays for France. And it's using his physical presence and stabilizing everything, which is great if we asked him to do that. But we're not. We're looking at this guy to score 10 goals a season, and that's wrong for me because he's not that guy. He did it last season. It was great, but he's shown that he can't do it. Technically, he is not up to that and for that role. So for me, I think if we get it right in the midfield this summer, I don't think we're going to miss Rabiot, to be 100% honest. And I'd be more inclined to keep McKennie, boost him a million, and keep him around. Let Rabiot walk and bring in a guy like Coop Mainers. Bring in a Samardzic on the side of that as well. And I think you
Yeah.
see a complete different midfield. Lex?
That was exactly what I was going to say. If you had to ask me between the two, I think especially after this past season, I would keep McKennie, honestly. Keep McKennie, give him some of that high salary. I think he's shown that he can be a contributor to the attack, especially with his technical ability. I think, like, there's some myth that was created around McKennie about him lacking technical ability. I thought that is pretty interesting to note that I think he's been excellent in terms of that and in terms of his creation recently. So I think, like you said, Al, when we're looking at roles, I think right now I would pick McKennie for that role over Rabiot.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I get it, like we still see this, the strongest national team in the world again, but it's what you're asking him to do in those sides. He's not being asked for France to be this creative driving force, and that's the difference. It's all about roles. Again, we've had this battle on positions and everything for so long, and for me, it just comes down to what you're asking these guys to do. It's all about the roles. But Rabiot, that's going to be an interesting one to follow and see what goes down. But Weston McKennie with the salary, I think it's okay. As far as Rabiot, even at the same money, again, you're talking about a guy that's on close to 9 mil a season. Yeah, I just don't know when we're talking about that, and it's just physical attributes, work rate, and stuff like that. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. I'd be fine if he stays, but I don't know. I feel like we can push the envelope in the midfield. One midfielder I said next year is make or break for Manuel Locatelli. Time to step it up. We shouldn't create too much work for ourselves in the midfield this summer, in my personal opinion. But next year, I think is make or break for Loca. It's time to put up or shut up. Lex, agree, disagree?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you on that one. I'm a huge Locatelli supporter. Lots of you know that. Always defending him, and Berto, I know you are too. It's always usually me and you, especially last season, who were
Oh,
standing by
yeah.
him through thick and thin. But I truly agree with you. I think next season is going to be huge. I think it's crazy how the years pass and he's already been with us for like how many seasons are we at
Three
now?
seasons now.
Three. I was gonna say three, but I was like, that seems a little like it feels like it's been shorter than that. But already 3 seasons, so I think next season is, like you said, going to be extremely decisive. We've been like waiting for him to step into that role, and there's been moments when he has stepped into that like that midfielder for us, which is kind of what we were banking on when we first got him from Sassuolo. And I still personally really want to see him um, under a different coach. However, I do believe that, like you said, next season it's time to step up. No more excuses.
Yeah.
Like he's been a part of our club and he's been a fan since he was a kid, as we all know. Like I think we're all waiting for him. We all are supporting him. It's just a matter of whether or not he wants to step up for us.
Yeah. And again, all the side factors that are being brought up, coaching, position, all this. He went to the Azzurri this season and he was unreal for those matches. He came back, he was unreal for us in the 2 games immediately after that Azzurri call up. There's nothing stopping him from doing that consistently other than himself.
Yes.
Players on their own are responsible for their own consistency. I say that all the time. Lex, agree? Disagree?
Agreed. I
Yeah.
agree with you. Yeah.
Speaking of consistency, you would know, in your own current season, and you're up for an award. What's this current news? We got to share that as we wrap up the news.
Thank
Lex,
you. Yes, I'm up for a Footballer of the Year award for my area. So I'm excited about that. Yes,
look
Women's
at
Footballer of
that.
the
That's
Year.
awesome. That's awesome. I was pumped to see
Thank
that.
you. Thanks
Always
so much.
making waves there. Juve women, get on it and let's get Lex in there, okay? Let's
Sign
go. But
me.
congrats on the nomination and hopefully, of course, the victory, all right, after a fantastic season, all right?
Thank
And
you.
we love seeing that. We love seeing that, all right? Now, Juve Genoa. We're going to wrap up the news on a lovely note there with Lex and her nomination, Footballer of
Thank
the
you.
Year there. Now we're going to get into Juve Genoa. So when it comes to Genoa, they're going to get a little bit of a boost there with Johan Vasquez available after serving a one-match ban. Stefano Sabelli, though, is going to be going to the sidelines after picking up a suspension due to yellow cards. He's going to be joining Aaron Martin with a knee injury and Alan Matura with a muscle injury on the sidelines. Other than that, Giardino's going to have everybody he needs available. They are on 2 losses back to back. Only one loss in their previous 11 games, though, going into that one. All right. So they were in a strong run of form. And the thing is that Giardino has created this rugged, hard-nosed, hard-to-beat team. And there's only one game in there that got away from them in that stretch, and that was the Atalanta match. But those goals were late. And it was kind of like the floodgates just opened late. Otherwise, they were right in the thick of that one too. And that result could have been different. So this is going to be very difficult. We know we drew them 1-1 in the previous one, but for them, 3-5-1-1. They're going to slightly change the way they use Goodmanson, who is one of Juve's targets as well. And real quick, let's touch on this one, even with the live chat. Ferguson seems to be linked so heavily with Juve, and now we're hearing that Bologna has interest in some of our young targets. But I've been saying Goodmanson is the one I would prefer out of those two players if we're going to go for one of those type of advanced midfielders. You agree, or would you take Ferguson over Goodmanson, Lex?
I think I would agree with you. I think
Yeah.
I like his qualities as well.
I think he's just I think he's class. Like, I think he's really, really good. He's very rarely is he not in a match or not able to impact with his team in some way. He seems to always influence something for his team. So I would take Goodmanson over Ferguson. But there you go. Lex agrees with me. So they're going to use him a little bit differently here. 3-5-1-1. Martinez at goal. De Winter, who, by the way, is close. A few more matches, and that will become an obligation for Genoa to purchase off of Juventus. Bani, Vasquez back in the lineup. Frendrup, who's also been linked to Juventus. Macias, Bade, Malinovsky. Remember what he did to Yildiz? That bastard. Spence, somebody better set the tone. I expect somebody to man up and go through Malinovsky in this one. And then Goodmanson behind Retegi up top. So 3-5-1-1. For us, Alcaraz and Milik. Milik is the latest to go down. What the hell are we doing in training that these guys in one competition cannot stay fit? Milik is out now for 10 to 15 days, everybody. It never ends. Lex, when we got the Club World Cup news, and obviously we're aiming to play in Champions League, they talked about the potential matches Juve could be in at being at like 70 potential matches next season. All I picture is that scene in Saving Private Ryan with the bodies everywhere, all right? J Medical is probably licking their chops at that news because that is job security if I've ever heard it. The injury thing at Juve is ridiculous, okay? But 70 games potentially? Wow. Milik the latest to go down. What we're expecting out of our lineup? Szczesny, Gatti, Bremer, Danilo, Cambiaso, McKennie, Locatelli, Miretti. As Allegri said in his presser, Rabiot does not have 90 minutes in his legs. Illing Jr., third straight game. And that is a sign that Kostic has lost his spot and he's probably on the way out. It's in the summer. I don't think any of us are going to be too hard done by. Vlahovic and Chiesa. So what do you think about that lineup, Lex?
I like that lineup.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest, that is probably my strongest 11. Maybe questionable with Gatti, but probably one of the variations of our strongest 11, in my opinion. So
Yeah.
I am a fan of that lineup. Definitely. I'm interested to see Illing Jr. again back in there. Miretti again. I am still a Miretti fan. I know that he's caught some flack recently. However, I'm definitely interested. I think, though, as you pointed out, Alberto, not to take Genoa lightly. They were on a very, very, very good run of form,
Yeah.
especially, like you said, leading up to their most recent game. And with Retegui and then also Malinovsky, there's some threats in the attack. Like, I would not be taking this match lightly, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be coming in. So with Genoa, and I had the pleasure of previewing this game with La Lanterna, podcast. So Matt and Fabri, it was a great time. I thank them again for the invite, but it's interesting to get their point of view and their perspective. So Genoa, away from home is a completely different team, and they do focus mainly on just clamping down and working through counters and everything. And I think that's a big part of why Goodmanson is actually not going to go full final third positioning wise, and he's going to hang back and create this diamond in the midfield so that they have more outlets to work out of their end through. So it does make complete sense what they're going to try to do. For us, it's going to be the same story. It's going to be Juve looking at Juve in terms of when a team clamps down and creates that 5-man wall working through the middle. So the middle is going to be critical. Miretti, he does so well until he gets into that final crucial moment where that decision making ramps up. As soon as he has less time to make decisions, that's when it starts to go wrong for him. Everything in build-up, everything moving forward is great. When you get to the final third and everything's tight, that's where it falls apart for him. And that's where he can't seem to process things quick enough. But it's going to be key for him to have a big game for Juventus tomorrow. And I stand firm on what I was saying going into this game. I want to see McKennie interchanging with Cambiaso a lot. I actually want to see Cambiaso in the middle for this exact reason. McKennie can hold it down. He's shown it. I think he's been better in terms of his own individual performances on the outside than he has in the middle. And I would utilize Cambiaso in the middle of the park in this game because we are going to need it. They're going to shut down the flanks and force us to go through the middle. We saw every single time we use Cambiaso in there how dynamic he can be. That's the only change I would make with this lineup. What do you think about that and Cambiaso being used in there, Lex?
I think that's a really good point. I like that him and McKennie can have those interchangeable roles. I think that it gives us a great advantage, especially down that right flank. We always talked about that left side, but we really do have a threatening right side, especially with those two. And so I think that it's going to be one of Cambiaso or McKennie that I think is going to be key in breaking down that low block tomorrow. I think that both of them have proven, McKennie has proven he can thread passes, Cambiaso as well with his creation and his ball retention, everything. As you said, he could definitely be a midfielder as well and play that role for us. So I think whether one plays in one spot or the other, they'll definitely, like we spoke about roles, they can definitely interchange. And I think we can see some great stuff happening. And that'll be key for tomorrow's game for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And Illing Jr., he's going to have to get inverted, I think, to start making impacts on these teams that clamp down there. He's going to have to be a little more open and willing to do that. Do the same as Cambiaso does. Find a way to impact games. Find a way to make something happen. So I am going to be looking for a little more from him now. 3 games in a row consecutively starting. I want to see him ramp things up in this one tomorrow. But I do expect it to be a tight game. It's time for us to put our money where our mouth is, though, because it's the prediction challenge time. So final score, 2 tiebreakers. Everybody in the chat, let's go. Let's hear it. And Lex, I'm going to let you do the honors and fire away with yours.
Oh boy. Okay. Prediction time.
I can go first if you want.
Yeah, you go first, Berto.
So we have Sharia coming in here 2-1. Chiesa and Vlahovic goals. We got Adam 2-0. Clean sheet. God, we could use that. Adam saying McKennie assist and goal. So goal and assist for Big Mac there. 2-1 from Magic Realiz. I expect a very, very tight game. I'm not having a lot of faith in the defense at the moment. It has seemed off, obviously, for a while, but we just look like we could actually concede at any point in time. And for a while there, I was doing the reverse thing where I was calling a goal scored against in hopes of that clean sheet, and it was working. I'm going to go back to that. I do believe Genoa gets a goal, but I'm going to call both teams to score, but I'm going to say Juve edges this one 2-1. So I'm going to go with the 2-1 victory, a very tight one, both teams to get a goal. I think that tomorrow I see Vlahovic on the score sheet. He will get one of our goals, and I actually believe that I think McKennie's going to bag one tomorrow. Just all the talks and, his dad, John McKennie, always lurking around there, probably feeding his son what's being said about him, this pay grade talk or whatnot. McKennie will bag a goal. It'll be fitting for what's happened this week. Okay, so Vlahovic and McKennie goal scores 2-1. And another one I will say is Cambiaso assists at least one of the goals. So he's at least assisting one of these goals. Now, Lex, there's mine. You're up.
Well, I don't want to sound like I'm copying you, but I'm also going to have to go with 2-1. For the same reasons, I don't have faith in our defense to keep a clean sheet, unfortunately, nowadays. But I do believe we will edge this one out. We will find a way to take the win. Dusan on the score sheet, absolutely. I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to do a little opposite you. I'm going to go Cambiaso with the other goal. So I'm
All
going to
right.
have a Vlahovic and Cambiaso goal. And the tiebreaker will be a McKennie assist for me.
Nice. All right.
And
All right.
by the way, John McKennie, if you're watching, we love Wes. We want him to stay.
Oh,
But yes,
man. He's very, very active on social media. Very, very
yes,
active. It is quite funny, though. He doesn't waste any time calling out people that criticize Wes. It's pretty funny to see. But proud dad. Proud dad. So I respect it. I respect it.
me
All
too.
right. Not going to change what I do on the show, but I respect it. All right. So here we go. And I always show McKennie love. We've shown him a lot of love. It was never an insult when I said about McKennie that it's an eye-opener when a guy like that is kind of your most consistent and best player. It's not a knock on Wes. It's more of the rest of the guys need to pick it up. And salary kind of has a lot to do with it, because the higher salary you are on, the more that's expected of you. You need to be one of those breadwinners. So it's not a knock on Wes. It's saying that the other guys, all these guys are way above him, haven't brought what he's brought, which is a bare minimum work effort, work rate, drive, determination. He's done that consistently. He's not flashy. He's not the most skilled, but he brings the bare minimum, which is 100% of everything he has, game in, game out. And he's at 3.2 million. And we just went over a list of players that are making significantly more that aren't even doing that. So it's not a knock on Wes. It's a get your head out of your ass to the other guys. So just to be clear on that. But yes, John McKennie has to be one of the better Twitter accounts out there. It's fun to follow. The Proud Dad. I love it. I love it. Now, in terms of the predictions are in, you guys, reminder, the watch along is on 4:30 a.m. my time. I don't care. It's not going to stop me. A couple espressos and there we go. All right. But we do have time for some Storm the Barn questions. So fire away with some of the questions that you might have. It could be coming from the news and everything. One thing I didn't state about Club World Cup is that the contracts, nobody really knew what happens with the contracts because most of them end on June 30th. And obviously that tournament is going to be June 15th to July 13th in 2025. But these contracts will extend for the tournament. All right. And you guys know what I believe and what I said. I need to see a statement of intent from Juventus this summer. Whether that's on a budget or not, I still need Giuntoli to find a way to boost this team. And I do want to see some type of statement. Whoever the coach is, I need Juve to make a significant statement with whoever the hell that guy is. But I actually think that it's the perfect time to use that year in buildup for the Club World Cup. You're trying to boost your exposure. It's going to be a big, big draw tournament. Okay, there's money involved, high stakes money involved. Juve's going to want to put their best foot forward. It's a reason why I actually think that they're going to be making a change. I would be very, very surprised if we don't see that change in the summer. But everybody talking about it kind of being Allegri's thing. No, it's very much Juve's. Max isn't going to walk away. Okay. People that are saying Max isn't going into a final contract year. What's he going to do? Walk away from that money? He's not walking away from that money. It's up to Juve to terminate that contract, pay him out if they want to make the change. I actually do think a change will come. What do you think this Club World Cup is going to make Juve, is going to kind of inspire them to do? Do you think they are going to make this change? Do you think it has anything to do with the Club World Cup? Or do you think they're going to bank on him because he's experienced, still out there, and move him into the Club World Cup? What do you think is going to happen at that role, Lex?
I think it's really interesting. It's such an interesting point in time for the club in terms of Allegri and everything. From reports that I've been seeing, I've kind of gathered the idea that they are looking to move on from him this summer. As you mentioned, Berto, whether or not that's from the Club World Cup, putting our club on the world stage like that, I think we want to be in a better spot than where we are currently. I think it's a mixture of that, a mixture of clinching top four and then, being back in the Champions League next season. I think that has a lot to do with it as well. I think it's very interesting, timing about all these things come back to timing, I truly think. So whether or not the manager you want is available at the time, even Malta having this incredible season this season, right? Like in hindsight, you would say, oh, we should have brought in Malta, but he hadn't had this season yet type of thing.
Yeah.
So I think that timing played a big role as well. I saw someone point out, which I think, Berto, whether or not get your thought on this as well, that this year, because we weren't playing in Europe, could have been used more as a rebuilding year, even in terms of bringing in a new face. What are your thoughts on that? I think it's interesting. And like I said, I like to point out the whole timing thing again, because if we do bring in Malta, then I don't think we would have been in a spot to bring him in fall of 2023 or some whatever the
Yeah.
summer mercato 2023.
I think just financially, there was no way to do it last year. Um,
That's the other point.
Unless he was willing to work with the team on some type of severance, it just was too much. Like we're still
Mhm.
working through, and honestly, the 200 million bond is what made the big push. So it's just one of those things. I think the timing, I still stand firm that through the past 3 years, Max was the right guy because that was not a build. This hasn't been a build. This is all about cleanup. Juve finally bit the bullet and just said, you know what? And it started with Cherubini and Arriva Bene, but they're like, we just have to clean this up. Like, we have to bring down wages. We have to say goodbye to guys and everything. But it was a little hit and miss there, too, because Max was still, I think, in a little bit too much control. I think that control has actually gone away now. I don't think Max has anything for control right now. This is Giuntoli and Mana's show. So a thing like Sandro hitting the amount of games to get an extension, if Giuntoli was around last season, that's not happening. Like, that's just not happening because the finances are key. So for me, now is the actual time. You have the best list of candidates you could probably have to try and bring in a change. You have 1 year to build up into what you want to do and expose your team as best as possible. Everything that I'm gathering from Calvo and his involvement is really focused on this push and perception. I don't think they want to care. Not to say that they make decisions based on what the fan base thinks, but I don't think they want that type of narrative around the club. I think they want to go in with, honestly, this brand that they've been pushing for a while, which is stronger together, and united, uniti, all this type of, I think they want to bring that together. And they're trying to make a big push in North America. They're going to be back in North America this summer, okay? They're going to be back in 2025. I think they want to clean up all the nonsense. And I think the connection with the fans, I think they felt that it's been kind of diminishing. And I think they want to clean everything up around this team going in there with everybody moving in the right direction and everybody backing one another. This whole 3-year span, everybody's talking about, oh, we were buying into like Max coming in and turning everything around. We fell for it and whatnot. No, I actually disagree. I think what we fell for is that the project is actually this big youth project push and next gen having all these guys. I think that is just what we were fed to have patience while they clean up the finances. That's what we actually fell for. Not the fact that Max would come in and we would just win everything. What do you think about that statement?
I think it's certainly interesting. And I know, Berto, going back, we've talked about this as well, and maybe a little bit of a conspiracy that Allegri was brought in because of the awareness and knowledge of last season's financial repercussions, point deductions. Who do you bring in who you know is loyal to you, who's going to stay despite all of that happening, right? So I think that, like you said, Allegri being brought in not necessarily to win and to move this project forward, but being brought in, as we've always talked about, to stabilize within the club because of everything else, a lot of turmoil around the club with our management, especially at this point last season. Max could very well, like you said, have been brought in more as a stabilizing person than anything. And
Yeah.
so I think that this season almost being like a reset year, we're only playing in the league, like we've got next gen running, we've got our players. I think that this year was almost maybe like a gap year in terms of, okay, and now we're going to hit the ground running this summer. I think they really do, like Giuntoli really does want to bring in a new manager. I truly believe that someone who will take the project forward from the point where we're at. And as you said, we were sold the next gen and changes while the club took care of everything else surrounding. And I think that was important as well because next gen is very, very valuable and positive for the club and for the fans. And a lot of the fans truly love our next gen players and want to see them succeed within the first team. And like you mentioned, I think we do have so much promise within this squad and within this project. I think it's just a matter of that missing piece, which for me still is the manager, and then someone who can push this project forward. I think that's
Yeah.
where we're at right now.
Yeah. Renew Okay. Sandro finally saying goodbye will be my Scudetto this season, everybody. Okay. Another one of my Scudettos was Napoli getting bounced so that we get into the Club World Cup. These are my Scudetti this season. Okay. But Coppa Italia, Juve's got to get after it. And we got to start righting the ship, and it's got to start quick, and it has to stop. It has to start tomorrow with Genoa. All right. But Sandro saying goodbye will be my Scudetto this season. And Sharia liking that one. It's to say it's time is insane, but Chanky saying that I really don't think the manager is the issue. Our average team is the truth. It always lies somewhere in the middle. I think Max, and I've called him out for this in my personal opinion. He has died on this hill for certain guys that haven't been rewarding him. Kostic, Rabiot, who's on big money. And I know everybody would say, well, why would you say Rabiot? He hasn't been consistent for me. He hasn't. Miretti had a million chances, but it doesn't mean you just can't go to him ever again until like an injury pops up. We brought in Alcaraz. Okay, so he's starting to use him, but now we're finding out that there's penalty fees if he plays less than 30%. And there's fees that disappear if he plays 60% of the available minutes while here on loan with Juventus. So how much of that call is actually Max and how much is this incentive with the finances, right? So it's really, really interesting on all these little things that we're hearing. You really don't know 100% of what the hell's going on behind the scenes. But for me, it of course isn't all on Max. Again, consistency is on these players. And if you've brought it at some point and you've met that standard, you have to bring it all the time. And I think the alternatives, these young guys, we all want to see them succeed and everything. But the truth is that a lot of them just aren't ready. A lot of them aren't ready, and they're just not at that level yet to make this consistent impact. But Max is still at fault because when everything was going good, there still wasn't balance from the left side of the pitch to the right side of the pitch. And he kept it status quo because the results were coming, but that's wrong because he in turn stopped us from looking to improve. The second you do that, it's kind of a killer because then look what happened. We run into some injury issues. You got to start banking on guys that haven't had a shot in forever. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of tough. But the biggest one for me is that there is no identity. The identity that we thought we had, that was there, that was building this season, the defense has imploded. It is gone. So if you have no identity to even fall back on, you can't restructure that year in, year out. Max is not the only one to blame, but for me, we have to start making a push for identity even while we're trying to start a build. Because the build for me started last season into this one with the young guys that we brought in. But now it's time to get some ready now guys in the summer. Give me 2 names you want to see signed by Juve in the summer, Lex.
Ooh.
And everybody in the chat, give me 2 names you want to see that you think make the biggest impact with this team.
Are we talking like realistic? So like maybe
yeah, realistically. Okay. Realistically.
I gotta think about this one.
Realistic, everybody. Come on. Mbappe and Haaland. I mean, obviously.
Oh, I think Calafiori. Yes. Calafiori, someone mentioned in the chat. I agree. Will be one of them. The other one being probably bringing back Sule or Zmarzic from Udinese. I think that would be my picks.
Yeah. I would love to see Calafiori in. Yeah. I would love to see Koop Mainers in. I would love to see one out of Samardzic, Ferguson, or Goodmanson. I'm good with any of those 3 on the other side of Koop Mainers. I don't want to see just like one of Goodmanson, Ferguson, or Samardzic. I need to still see somebody like he's a top 5 mid in Serie A right now currently. Give me Koop and Samardzic, and this team is night and day in the middle of the park. Night and day. We have Fagioli coming back too. Would be a beautiful thing. A beautiful thing. For Sule, I still say sell him. 40 mil, straight profit, 1 shot. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm not saying no to that. I sell him in a heartbeat. Lex, disagree, right?
Yeah, I think so. I'm still a fan, but I get what you're saying. It is tempting.
If it means keeping certain guys around and making it easier, that's what I want to do. Bremer, good God. The rumors, the English start with this 55 million euro release clause. There's no chance. And if that was true, shoot me now, because that would be just brain dead from Juventus. So I'm not buying it, and I don't believe it, all right? Bremer needs to be untouchable, but hopefully this Club World Cup, the influx of funds, hopefully everything kind of shifts. Guys want to stick around, but making Champions League is the key. Tomorrow, we have to win. 3 points is a must, all right? An absolute must. You guys, we're going to wrap things up on that. You guys know watch along is going down. 4:30 a.m. my time, 7:30 a.m. Eastern time, all right? Lex, always an absolute pleasure. Congratulations again on Player of the Year nomination. Hopefully you win. I understand the reason took you a long time to join us tonight. You were getting ready, so enjoy your evening, all right? Have fun, okay? Everybody was really patient in the chat. But anything on close here, Lex? Oh, froze up right at the end. All right. Congrats to Lex, though. Everybody, you guys know the drill. I want to see you at the watch along, all right? I want to see you all here, 4:30 a.m. my time. We're going to rock it. Juve Genoa has to be a victory. Can we vote for Lex? Oh, I hope so. We'll see what happens. I'll keep you posted. I don't know how the voting works or whatnot. They probably won't leave it to the general public, but I'll tell you how you can vote for Lex. We've got the winner of our kit giveaway, okay? And it was at Juventini for not life, LI1. At Juventini for LI1 on Twitter is the winner of the 84 Ariston kit. However, we got the next one given away. The winner is going to be able to choose one of a Bremer away or a Cambiaso third. Okay, so 2 more kits up for grabs. The second kit out of that, so the first winner will be from one of our platforms. The second one will go to one of our team members, and you could vote for Lex if you want her to go and advance into the second stage. That's right. We're going to run a vote for best AJC team member or your favorite AJC team member. And we're going to give away a kit to one of them because they're never eligible to win these things, all right? So we're going to have some fun with that. Things to look forward to. But for now, enjoy the rest of your Saturday. If it's Sunday where you are right now, enjoy your time until the match starts. Half hour before kickoff, I'm going to be live. Hope to see you all there. As always, fino alla fine. Forza Juve. Ciao tutti.
Yeah.